Welcome to the show. Thank you everyone for listening. My next guest is someone that I met through a women's conference. And her story made me reach out to her because I want to share her story. Welcome to the show, Viola.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm thrilled to be here.
Tell everyone listening a little bit about you, where you come from, your work, your life, your family life. Tell us a little bit about.
Sure. I'm Viola Sutanto. I'm the founder of Micah. And at Micah, we create bags for everyday use that are beautiful, but also functional and made with sustainable materials. And the second thing we do is we partner with brands that align with our mission of spreading everyday joys and help them connect better with the customers through storytelling and design. And sometimes that results in designing, exclusive product collections for them or creating programs and experiences that enhance the customer journey. So that's on the work front. And I am also a wife, a mom of two kids, and life is busy and messy, but also beautiful.
I love it. How old are your kids?
My daughter Micah is 13 and our son Alistair is 7.
Okay. Oh, preteen or teenager, yes.
Officially a teenager as of last month.
Oh my gosh. Then tell us a little bit more about your daughter. You have an interesting story about your daughter from when she was a little bit younger.
Yeah, so my daughter, who's now 13, when she was 9 years old, she was diagnosed with bone marrow failure, which was, shocking and devastating for us because she had always been a healthy kid up until the day she just started throwing up blood on the kitchen floor, and we had no idea what was going on. And by that very night, she was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which is basically her bone marrow had failed. And the course of treatment was, to try to get a bone marrow transplant. So that year, we spent a lot of time in the hospital. And miraculously, her little brother, who was then 3 years old, turned out to be the perfect match for her. So he became her donor. He saved her life. And out of that time in the hospital, even though it was probably the worst year of our lives ever for everyone, but it was also, I think, a very transformative year for us because what came out of that whole experience was, well, twofold. One was when she was in a hospital, I have to say that I was really amazed by how she dealt with what was coming for her every day. The chemo, the isolation, all of that. She just found something to be happy about every day. And it was just the smallest things, like things we don't even notice, like, oh my God, they're serving Nutella and bagels today. Or, oh, you brought
Oh,
my
wow.
favorite pajamas, and it was just these little things that she found so much joy in them that I got inspired to draw one thing each day that made her happy. And, that resulted in 100 illustrations. We turned it into a book. It's called Eat Cake for Breakfast and 99 Other Small Acts of Happiness, and published that. And, now we're able to give back to the hospital where she was treated at by donating proceeds from the sale of that book back to them. But the other thing that came out of that was, she was granted a wish by Make-A-Wish. And her wish was for me and her to design a mural with her favorite quote, and then invite all our friends and family to paint this mural together. And so Make-A-Wish made that happen, which was such an amazing experience for us, because it really brought together our whole community, all the people who've been through her journey together with her, all the moms who were there for me during the hospitalization, her teachers, her friends. They all came together over the span of one weekend and made this mural together. and it was later on unveiled by our mayor. It lives in our hometown in Oakland. Um, and I think what blew me away was the quote that she picked. The quote says, "It doesn't get any easier, you just get stronger." And that has been kind of a mantra, for me and I think for many people. Um, and what later happened from that was I was so inspired by her. I ended up designing a product collection around that quote and the mural design, and then partnered with Make a Wish. And this particular collection is called Micah's Wish Collection. It's something that we produce exclusively with Make a Wish, and again, proceeds from purchase of that any item in that collection will then go back to Make a Wish and help them further their mission of granting life-changing wishes to kids with who are fighting these big life battles.
Okay, I should have brought some tissue to this episode. I love this. How did your daughter get this attitude of finding joy in all the little things? Like, people are suffering so much, and where does she get that from? Did she see that from a family member, or is that how you and your husband live? How is that?
My husband and I, we asked ourselves that question because I have no idea. I just, um, I have no idea where she gets that strength from. But, I've come to realize that kids are really resilient. They're just so in the moment. I think as adults, we tend to worry about a lot of things that may or may not happen in the future. We're kind of control freaks. We want to know the outcome. And I think kids are just so
live in
present.
The present. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That's such a lesson for all of us to just find the joy in the small things. And she was teaching all of us a lesson, I guess. And she was probably comforting you guys as parents, that were worrying every day. And
yeah, I'm so grateful that during that time she was able to do that. I think it would have been even harder for all of us had she been, had she reacted in a different way, or, was crying over treatments and wanting to go home, which I also see with other kids in that ward. And that's really, really hard on the family.
Yeah, because there's that guilt. You want to take them home and bring them home, but you can't because they need the care. So tell us a little bit more about Make-A-Wish, because I've heard of the foundation and I think everyone knows, but is it privately funded? Is it public? Is it government? I don't really know much about the origin of Make-A-Wish.
So it's a nonprofit, and it was inspired by this little kid, who wanted to be, I think, a fireman or a police officer when he was battling leukemia. And his town got together and made that happen for him. And that was the beginning of what is now Make-A-Wish today. And I didn't even know about this until I got involved with them, that they have 58 chapters in the United States and, hundreds more all over the world. So they're doing this work globally. And really their visual mission is simple but so profound, which is to bring hope to kids, who are battling critical illnesses. And I think that that's something that's very much aligned with our mission as a company, which is to inspire joy. So for me, this partnership is really meaningful and personal because this is why we're all on earth for, right? It's like to connect with each other, to bring hope and joy to each other.
Yeah, to share love in so many different ways. How can people buy this collection? Is it sold only online, or can they buy it at retailers in the US, or?
It's currently only sold online at our store. So it would be micagoods.com/wish.
Okay, cool. We'll add the link to the show notes and all of that stuff.
Thank you.
That's good stuff. And okay, so tell me a little bit about growing up. Where did you grow up? What was nourishing your family like? What did you do?
I am born in Indonesia. but I grew up in Singapore. And
One of my favorite
growing up,
places.
yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
great. And so you're probably familiar with the
The
food
food.
in
The chili
Southeast
crab.
Asia. And oh my gosh, yes.
Chili
I
crab, yes.
love chili crab. Yeah. I already know I'm going to be really hungry by the end of this episode, so I'm glad it's right about lunchtime now. But yeah, I grew up, in a place where food is really a huge part of our lives, our daily lives. Um, we just have so much access to all kinds of rich foods, and growing up in Singapore, it's such a true melting pot of cultures. With it being such a multiracial country, so we have easy access to Indian food, Malay food, Chinese food, and now living here in the States, I just I just think like I took all of that for granted, and now it's such a joy when I find a little Indonesian restaurant in town, or learning about a home chef who's making all these dishes. It feels like a whole treasure hunt for me when I find a dish that's nostalgic for me.
So did you eat Malaysian or Indonesian or Singaporean food at home, or did you eat everything?
Pretty much everything. That's quite a large overlap in all of these cuisines. So I think all of that we just embrace very fondly.
Yeah, I loved the food in Singapore. I spent 3 weeks there and I was like, why would people not want to live here? It's like paradise, like a Disneyland of Asia, I call it.
Yeah, I could imagine how much you would enjoy being a big food person yourself.
Oh my gosh, all the markets and all the street hawkers and just the fresh fruit and the coconut water on the side of the road. It was like, I'm in heaven. So, what made you move to the US
I came out here for college
and then stayed?
and then stayed. Yes.
Oh, so, is your family back in Singapore?
Some of them are, and some in Indonesia,
Okay. What part of Indonesia?
Jakarta.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, one of my previous interviews today was with someone from Indonesia. She's a cane sugar farmer, a female cane sugar farmer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I should connect you to just because she's doing some amazing things with sustainability and smallhold farmers, all female farmers. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
very cool.
impressive.
Yeah. So okay, so how did you get into design? Tell me about your design inspirations. I love your patterns and colors and vibrancy. It's so refreshing to see your products have like a different look and feel than, some of the higher high street brands as we call them.
Oh, thank you. I didn't come into design till later on in life. So when I came out here for college, it was for business school, and then I my entire family were all made up of entrepreneurs. I always knew I would, you know, go down that path, although probably didn't quite crystallize that till later in life. But I, at that time, was working in the financial district, and I got a little restless and started taking these drawing classes at night after work. And it so happened that the bank I was working at, we had our own in-house creative agency. And the creative director there was always nudging me to say, I think you should be working for me. And I just thought, oh, that's ridiculous. What would I do? I don't know how to
Wow,
do
what a
anything.
compliment.
So I finally, at one point, I just very shyly told him, I'm taking these art classes at night. And he got excited and said, show me what you've been doing. And it was so bad. All my drawings, when I think back now, it's just, like I was really embarrassed by them. But I was also, feeling like, I don't know, maybe there's another path for me out there, another career path, but it wasn't clear in my mind what it was going to be. So I call this creative director my guardian angel, because he really pushed me to keep going. And And then 2 years later, I'm applying to art school, and then I quit my job and decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to study graphic design. I'm going to learn more about this field and see what adventures are ahead. And that was it. I've never looked back since.
Oh my gosh. So what was your first day like at art school? Were you like, this is it? This is my place?
Oh yeah, I felt like I was on a high for 3 years, you know. I felt like wow, this is what it feels like when you're doing something you really love every day.
Oh, I love that. I'm so happy
And
you
I'm
did
sure
that
you
too.
feel the same way with what you're doing
Yeah,
in your
I
business.
was the same. I was like, oh, I want to start my own business. And I complained. And then for 2 years, when then one of my girlfriends said, could you stop complaining and do something about it? And I just clearly remember her face and her words. And I was like, God, have I been complaining about that? Like, has it been really noticeable? She's like, yes, just please start your own business. And I was like, oh man, it was kind of a bit rude, but it was like, okay. And I needed that like push because I was like part time, side jobs, and then finally I took the plunge. So yeah, she was my art director.
It's incredible. We need one of those in our lives.
That's amazing. So living in California, then there's not a lot of Singaporean, Malaysian, Indonesian restaurants, or
There used to be more. And then,
okay,
post pandemic, I think we have fewer options now. But I have discovered, there are many home chefs in the area that are popping up or have been around maybe for a while. I just haven't really discovered them because it was easy to just go pick up some food at a restaurant. And then, post pandemic, there were less options, and I discovered all these home chefs in our area that I started ordering from them and just been delighted to discover we have all these other options out there now.
oh wow, that's a great idea. And California, how do you like the California sunshine compared to the Asian sunshine? Is it a great place to live?
I love being out here. I don't miss the humidity in Singapore, but certainly there are parts of Singaporean life that I miss now.
Nice. And have your kids gone back? Have you shown them around? And
Yeah, we've been back a few times. We used to go back almost every year before the pandemic. And so they've been exposed to, different kinds of cultures, different kinds of food. Both my kids are pretty adventurous eaters. So yes, they just enjoy exploring.
nice. So as a busy, successful entrepreneur and mom who travels, I think a little bit or quite a lot, do you travel a lot or?
Quite a lot.
Yeah. How do you keep yourselves all nourished and fed? And how does everyone, what are the lunches like?
Thankfully, they have school lunches, but I think for us, having a routine is key. Just knowing, all right, we always have dinner at this time, and this kind of like, you need to be at the dinner table, kind of what kind of food you're going to get. But I also feel really fortunate that I have a husband who loves to cook. And so he's taken on most of that, which is great for when I'm traveling. And he's really good about cooking different things, trying out different things. So the kids have been, they don't feel like they only they only like to eat these five things and that's what we'll have for dinner. They're just open to anything we want to experiment with. Um, the only thing I would say the difference between my husband's cooking and my cooking on weekdays, which sometimes can be a point of contention, is that I like to cook anything that can be ready in 30 minutes, preferably in a one pot meal, whereas he likes to be like, oh, I'm gonna brine the meat and then I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna simmer the broth and I'm going, but they need to eat by 6:30.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Yeah.
he needs to He needs to quicken that process.
Yeah, or at least keep it to weekends, when we're not pressed for time and getting kids to bed at a decent hour.
Yes, I know what you mean. We actually eat at 5:30, so 6:30 is pretty late.
Wow. I don't think I could ever achieve that. 5:30, I don't think we'll ever get our act together enough
Well,
fast enough.
5:30 since the pandemic, so we've been lucky because the pandemic brought us earlier. But before we would get home at 5:30 and it would be 6:30. So now we do more work from home. So yeah, 5:30, 6:30. We've got the seniors timings perfect.
That's great.
Okay, so tell me, what's your best ever meal? Where did you eat it? Do you have any favorite places where you have memories of your best meal?
That is a hard one. I I'm gonna say one of my best meals because it's really hard to narrow it down to the one best meal. But last year, my husband took me to have omasake in a restaurant in San Francisco. The restaurant is called Omasake, and it was such a exquisite experience. To first of all, it's so rare for us to be able to have a meal that expands to like 2-3 hours without interruption, and to be able to like take breaks in between each course. And so for me, that whole atmosphere was special. And I just remember, you know like eating one plate and thinking, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. And then they bring out the next thing and it's, oh my gosh, this is incredible. It's even better. And then it just keeps getting better and better. And omasake, I guess it's like the Japanese version of chef's table, right? You just eat whatever the chef wants to make for you. And for me, it was just magical to be there, being able to witness the chef in action, preparing the food, and then talking to us about the food and telling us what he's doing, um, and also just witnessing how much they love making that food and sharing that knowledge. And it just feels like such an interactive process, of being able to communicate with the chef, to watch him in action, and for him to see how much we love his food. Yeah, for me, that was a pretty special meal.
How many hours uninterrupted did you have? Well, how many courses did you have, or was it too many to count?
I think it was a total of 10, and they were all really, really small plates. So one course could be just one piece of sashimi, and it took probably a good 3 hours for the entire meal.
What's that place called again? Where is it? Tell us so I can write it down.
It's Sato Omasake, and it's in San Francisco. I want to say maybe on Polk Street.
Okay, we'll add that in the show notes. It's amazing. And now, more of you being the host, what would you serve at a dinner party and who would you invite?
Ooh.
And you don't have to be
Uh,
cooking. You can also order.
okay. I think what I would do is probably invite friends who love food and then making it into a potluck so everybody can bring their specialty, because I feel like well, first of all, it takes the pressure off me having to design a menu and trying to figure out if, like, oh, what if somebody doesn't eat this or no meat or gluten free and all that. But, I figure if I have everyone bring their favorite dish, then we could just mix it up and everybody gets to showcase what they love and share it with
That's a
everyone.
great idea. I want to come to that party for sure. I'm coming to San Francisco next year. I'll do it around that time that I'm there. Perfect.
Okay. It's a date.
And oh yeah, maybe we should go for sushi when I'm there or something yummy. Um, Tell me, who do you admire in the design world?
Oh gosh, there's so many.
You don't have to pick one. Who do you like? Tell me all the people you love right now, or
Okay. I tend to gravitate towards mid-century designers. So Charles and Ray Eames, Joseph Frank, Mary Mecco. I also love the minimalist aspect of Japanese design. So Noguchi would be another one. And then in contrast, I also am a big fan of Matisse and painters who, are not afraid to use color and bold shapes. Um, yeah, I think that's quite a range right
Yeah.
there.
So when you went to art school, then you graduated, then did you take fabric design and printing and purse design, or was it just you took art and then graduated? And how did the Micah come to be?
I studied graphic design, and so when I graduated, I I wanted to eventually start my own design firm, but I started out by working for a couple of boutique firms in San Francisco and kind of learning the trade. Um, I also then ended up somewhat specializing in catalog design, where I really love editorial, so book design, catalog design. And it was through there, I had a lot of exposure to retail brands. We would design catalogs for brands like Design Within Reach and Pottery Barn. Um, and then I started my own brand agency serving small to mid-sized businesses. But I also wanted to physically make things, beyond serving clients. So then as a side hustle, I thought, oh, I'll just make a few things and see where it takes me. And it took me from having a stationery line to a reusable fabric gift wrap line to table linens, and finally found my sweet spot in bags.
Wow.
And then when that took off, I realized I really needed to focus and not be running two businesses at the same time. And also being a new mom at that time, I was really just going out of my mind. Um, and that's when I decided I really needed to focus on building Micah and seeing where that could take me. And ironically, I actually come from a bag family. My family has been in the bag business for over 4 decades. And growing up, I always said I would never get into the bag business because it's so hard.
And then your parents were like, see, we told you.
Yeah. And my dad was like, "Why are you starting your own brand? Just come home."
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Do they still have a bag business?
Yeah, they're still in that world
Oh
back in
my gosh,
Indonesia.
that's amazing. So probably just was like osmosis. You absorbed it all those years and then it just
I,
had to come out
yes.
of you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What kind of business was it? Were they designing and creating like you, or was it more?
It was more of a distributor model.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's funny. Did you do your homework on boxes of bags as a kid?
I guess. I spent a lot of time with bags.
And then alternatively, do you admire anyone in the food world? Do you think anyone's doing some cool stuff in San Francisco or, back home?
Um, I think globally, there's so many interesting food people out there doing all kinds of great things. But I think I have to say that my all-time favorite is still Julia Child. Because I just love the fact that she wasn't trained and she just decided, I'm going to do this because I find it fascinating and interesting. And she just has this infectious, joyous energy about her. And she seems to be really warm and authentic and not afraid to make mistakes on air. And, just like telling her story in that way that she has, which I find to be really enchanting.
And she just like entered that whole male dominated world in France with like
Yes.
such like ease, like just like, oh well, I can do this. And I love that too about her. I love that laissez-faire
Yeah.
or that like just quiet confidence.
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing. that the way she just like came onto the scene. It was such a force.
Thank you for your time. I think that was such a fun chat, and I love all the bags and all the stuff with Make-A-Wish, so I hope some of our readers will reach out and purchase some of your stuff, and that you keep creating. And your Instagram has so many great visuals of the murals and all of that great stuff. So I'm wishing you and your family well, and thank you for being on the show.